July 29, 1944, General Major Fritz Bayerlein, commanding Panzer Lehr Division outside Avranches, sat in his bunker reading intercepted American radio traffic that made no tactical sense. Third Army's 8th Corps had a new commander, not because the previous commander was killed, not because he'd failed tactically, because General George Patton had relieved him for being too cautious. The replaced officer was Major General John Wood, commanding 4th Armored Division, one of the most successful American armored commanders in France. His division had advanced 40 kilometers in the previous week, captured 2,000 German prisoners, destroyed 17 panzers. By any reasonable metric, Wood was succeeding, but Patton had fired him 48 hours earlier. The intercepted communications were clear. Wood was proceeding too methodically, failing to exploit opportunities with sufficient aggression, prioritizing force preservation over rapid advance. Bayerlein had commanded armored forces since North Africa. He understood that aggressive commanders sometimes relieved cautious subordinates. But Wood wasn't cautious, he was effective. His replacement, Major General Hugh Gaffey, had no armored command experience, and the timing was catastrophic. In 48 hours, American forces would attempt the Avranches breakout. Patton had just replaced his most experienced armored commander with an untested successor. On the eve of the most critical operation of the Normandy campaign, Wehrmacht defensive doctrine in Normandy had adapted to American command patterns over 6 weeks of combat. The German intelligence had profiled American commanders, identifying their decision-making styles, risk tolerance, and operational preferences. Major General John Wood's profile was precise. Age 51, West Point 1912, extensive staff experience, commanded 4th Armored Division since activation. His operational pattern: thorough reconnaissance before attacks, systematic clearing of bypassed enemy positions, consolidated gains before advancing. His division suffered lowest casualty rates in 8th Corps, while maintaining comparable advance rates to more aggressive units. Wood was predictable. German defenders facing 4th Armored Division could calculate his decision-making. When American reconnaissance identified German strongpoints, Wood would conduct deliberate attacks with artillery preparation and infantry support. When breakthroughs occurred, Wood would consolidate before exploiting. When flanks became exposed, Wood would halt advance until adjacent units closed gaps. Predictability was exploitable. General Lieutenant Dietrich von Koltitz, commanding 84th Corps defending western Normandy, had built his defensive strategy around American command predictability. His forces couldn't stop American advances, but they could delay them through tactics that exploited each commander's pattern. Wood's pattern was consolidation. When 4th Armored created breakthroughs, von Koltitz's forces counterattacked flanks. Wood would halt forward elements to secure flanks. The halt gave German forces time to establish secondary defensive positions. The pattern had worked consistently through July. Then Patton relieved Wood on July 27, 1944, 2 days before the Avranches breakout. The German defensive plan was built around Wood's predictable caution. Now Wood was gone, replaced by commander German intelligence had no profile for. The tactical problem emerged immediately as German intelligence tried to assess the command change's implications. Oberst Rudolf Christoph Freiherr von Gersdorf, intelligence officer for 7th Army, compiled what little information existed on Hugh Gaffey. Age 55, West Point 1909, extensive staff experience but no division command. He'd served as Patton's chief of staff in Sicily and Tunisia. No independent command record, no documented operational pattern. The assessment was troubling. New commander's operational style unknown. Previous assignment as Patton's chief of staff suggests aggressive inclinations. But staff officers often demonstrate different patterns when given independent command. Insufficient data to predict decision-making. German defensive planning required predictions. When American armor broke through, German forces needed to know how commanders would exploit breakthroughs. Would they advance rapidly, accepting risk? Would they consolidate, prioritizing security? The answer determined where German reserves positioned, how counterattacks were timed, when secondary defenses were occupied. Wood's pattern was known. Breakthrough, consolidate, secure flanks, then advance. German reserves could position 8 to 12 kilometers behind breakthrough points, knowing Wood would pause before reaching them. Gaffey's pattern was unknown. If he followed Patton's aggressive doctrine, he might exploit breakthroughs immediately, reaching German reserve positions before they prepared defenses. If he followed conventional armor doctrine, he might operate like Wood despite the command change. Von Koltitz's July 28th assessment to 7th Army headquarters was blunt. American command change at critical moments suggests either A. Removed commander was failing in ways our intelligence missed, or B. American Supreme Commander is replacing competent but methodical officer with more aggressive alternative immediately before major operation. If second interpretation correct, we should expect change in American operational pattern precisely when our defensive plans assume continuity. The timing suggested option B. But von Koltitz couldn't restructure his entire defensive deployment based on interpretation. German forces would defend against the commander they knew, hoping the replacement would behave similarly. They were wrong. After the war, the full story emerged through American testimony revealing command dysfunction that German intelligence had only partially detected during combat. Colonel Robert Allen, 3rd Army staff officer, who documented Patton's command decisions, provided detailed account of Wood's relief in his 1947 memoir. The decision wasn't sudden. It was culmination of mounting frustration Patton had expressed throughout July. The conflict centered on operational philosophy. Patton's doctrine emphasized exploitation over consolidation. When armor broke through enemy lines, Patton demanded immediate pursuit, regardless of flank security, supply status, or adjacent unit positions. His guidance to armor commanders was explicit. Drive like hell until you run out of gas, then get out and walk. Wood disagreed fundamentally. His doctrine prioritized sustainable advances over rapid exploitation. Wood believed exposed flanks invited counterattacks that could destroy entire divisions. Supply lines stretching too far collapsed, leaving forward units without ammunition or fuel. Adjacent units required coordination to prevent gaps enemies could exploit. The philosophical clash became operational conflict in late July. On July 25th, Operation Cobra, the Breakout offensive, shattered German lines south of St. Lo. Wood's 4th Armored Division advanced through the gap, penetrating 15 kilometers by July 26th. Patton visited Wood's command post that evening. The conversation, documented by multiple officers present, became legendary in 3rd Army. Patton: "Why have you stopped?" Wood: "Consolidating gains. Left flank exposed. 6th Armored Division hasn't closed the gap. German counterattack could cut off forward elements." Patton: "German forces are collapsing. Drive south. Don't worry about flanks." Wood: "Sir, German Panzer Lehr Division is still operational west of our advance. If I push south without securing flanks..." Patton: "Panzer Lehr is combat ineffective. Drive south, or I'll find someone who will." Wood advanced July 27th, but maintained reconnaissance screens protecting his flanks. His division covered 8 kilometers, good advance by conventional standards, inadequate by Patton's. That evening, Patton relieved Wood. The order was immediate, no appeals, no reconsideration. Major General Hugh Gaffey, Patton's chief of staff, assumed command of 4th Armored Division on July 27th with orders to maintain aggressive advance regardless of flank security concerns. But what they found would change everything about how 8th Corps operated. The relief wasn't purely personal disagreement. Patton was operating with intelligence Wood didn't have or didn't believe. Ultra-intercepts had revealed German forces in Normandy were near collapse. 7th Army was receiving contradictory orders from Hitler, who forbade withdrawals, and from field commanders who knew their lines couldn't hold. German units were disintegrating, not conducting organized withdrawals. Patton knew this. Wood didn't trust it. Wood's caution was based on conventional threat assessment. German forces, though battered, remained dangerous. Exposed flanks invited counterattacks. Supply lines required protection. Patton's aggression was based on intelligence assessment. German forces were beyond the point where they could mount effective counterattacks. Every hour's delay allowed German remnants to establish defensive positions that would cost American lives to reduce. Speed mattered more than security. The philosophical difference became operational. Wood was fighting the war he could see. Patton was fighting the war ultra-revealed. Gaffey's appointment demonstrated Patton's priority. Gaffey had no armored command experience. He'd never led division in combat, but he'd worked as Patton's chief of staff for 18 months. He understood Patton's operational philosophy completely. He knew Patton prioritized speed over security, exploitation over consolidation, risk over caution. Gaffey's first order to 4th Armored Division was distributed July 28th. Division will advance continuously until enemy resistance hardens or fuel exhausted. Flank security is secondary priority. Adjacent unit coordination is secondary priority. Forward momentum is primary priority. General Patton expects this division to lead 3rd Army Breakout. German intelligence intercepted fragments of this order. Von Gersdorf's analysis noted, new American commander demonstrates aggressive intent consistent with Patton's known preferences. Expect change from methodical advance pattern to rapid exploitation pattern. Defensive reserves may require repositioning closer to front lines to counter faster American penetration. But repositioning reserves required time German forces didn't have. The defensive plan was built around Wood's pattern. Changing the plan required 24 to 48 hours. The breakout was starting in hours. Patton had deliberately disrupted German defensive planning by replacing predictable commander with aggressive, unknown 48 hours before the critical operation. Whether Patton understood this effect or simply couldn't tolerate Wood's caution remains debated, but the tactical impact was immediate. July 30th through August 1st, 1944, the Avranches breakout. This was where Gaffey proved why Patton had replaced competent caution with aggressive inexperience. At 1300 hours, July 30th, 4th Armored Division received orders to advance through Avranches toward Pontobo Bridge. The mission was critical. Secure the bridge before German forces destroyed it, enabling 3rd Army to pour through the gap into Brittany and beyond. German defensive plan, prepared when Wood commanded 4th Armored, assumed American advance would pause at Avranches, while reconnaissance confirmed bridge status and infantry secured the town. This would give German engineers time to demolish the bridge. Fallback positions were prepared 15 kilometers south, where reconstituted German forces would delay American advance. Gaffey didn't pause at Avranches. His lead combat command bypassed the town entirely, racing for Pontobo Bridge. German forces in Avranches found themselves behind American advance instead of blocking it. The maneuver violated every principle of secure advance. Gaffey's flanks were completely exposed. His supply line ran through enemy-occupied territory. His force was isolated from adjacent American units. At 17:15 hours, July 30th, 4th Armored Division seized Pontaubault Bridge intact. German engineers had prepared demolitions, but American armor arrived 3 hours before German timeline predicted. The bridge was theirs. General Lieutenant von Koltitz received the report at 17:30 hours. His defensive plan was collapsing. American armor was 20 kilometers beyond where German reserves were positioned. The fallback positions prepared for Wood's methodical advance were now behind American lines. Von Koltitz ordered immediate counterattack using his last reserve, 2nd Panzer Division elements. The counterattack launched August 1st against 4th Armored Division's exposed flanks, exactly as Wood had feared and Patton had dismissed. But Gaffey didn't respond like Wood would have. Wood would have halted forward advance to consolidate and defeat the counterattack with overwhelming force. Gaffey left minimal forces to screen the counterattack and pushed his main force south. The German counterattack hit American screening forces, battalion strength, not division strength. The screening forces fell back fighting, but 4th Armored's main force was already 30 kilometers south, seizing crossroads and bridges, collapsing German defensive depth. Bayerlein, commanding Panzer Lehr remnants trying to form defensive line south of Avranches, watched American tanks appear on roads. His intelligence said they couldn't reach for 24 hours. His after-action report captured the shock. Enemy armored division advanced at speeds inconsistent with known American doctrine. Forward elements appeared in unexpected locations with no flank security, no reconnaissance preparation, no coordination with adjacent units. This represented either catastrophic American command failure or deliberate acceptance of risk our defensive planning didn't anticipate. It was the latter. Patton had replaced Wood specifically to get commander who would accept risks Wood wouldn't. Gaffey's inexperience became advantage. He had no established patterns German intelligence could predict. His only pattern was Patton's: drive forward, accept risk, maintain speed. By August 1st, 4th Armored Division had advanced 45 kilometers beyond Avranches. German defensive plans built around Wood's caution were obsolete. The breakout succeeded because Patton had fired his most experienced commander for being too careful. The statistics validated Patton's ruthless command decision, despite its apparent recklessness. Under Wood's command, July 1st to 27th, 4th Armored Division advanced 127 kilometers, suffered 892 casualties, and maintained 96% equipment operational readiness. Exemplary performance by conventional metrics. Under Gaffey's command, July 28th to August 15th, 4th Armored Division advanced 312 kilometers, suffered 1,247 casualties, and maintained 87% equipment operational readiness. Higher casualties, lower readiness, but triple the advance rate. The operational impact justified the costs. Third Army's breakout through Avranches succeeded because 4th Armored Division penetrated German defensive depth faster than German forces could respond. The division that Wood commanded methodically became the division that Gaffey commanded recklessly, and recklessness proved tactically superior during the critical 48-hour window. German assessments confirmed the impact. Von Koltitz's August 3rd report to 7th Army headquarters stated, American Armored Division command change immediately. Before offensive suggests enemy Supreme Commander understood his methodical commander was insufficient for exploitation mission. Replacement commander demonstrated aggressive pattern our defensive planning didn't account for. This suggests American command is willing to relieve competent officers who don't match operational requirements of specific missions. Post-war analysis by German commanders consistently identified the Wood-Gaffey transition as tactical surprise. Ihr General der Panzertruppe Leo Geyer von Schweppenburg wrote in 1954, "We profiled American commanders to predict their patterns. This worked until Patton demonstrated willingness to replace commanders whose patterns didn't serve his operational tempo." Wood was competent, but Patton needed aggression, not competence. The relief 48 hours before breakout indicated either remarkable tactical insight or fortunate timing, likely the former. The long-term impact was psychological. German intelligence could no longer assume American command patterns were stable. If Patton would relieve successful division commander on eve of major operation, no American commander's pattern was reliable for planning purposes. Wood never commanded combat division again despite his July success. Patton's message was clear. Competence without aggression was insufficient. The relief wasn't punishment for failure. It was demonstration that matching Patton's operational tempo mattered more than conventional success metrics. The lesson transcends military command. Optimal performance for previous mission doesn't guarantee selection for next mission. Wood was excellent methodical commander. His division advanced successfully, maintained low casualties, preserved equipment readiness. By peacetime standards, he was exemplary. By conventional military standards, he was successful. But Patton wasn't optimizing for conventional success. He was optimizing for breakthrough exploitation, mission requiring different attributes than sustained advance. Breakthrough exploitation required accepting risks, the maintaining speed despite danger, and exploiting chaos faster than enemy could respond. Wood was wrong commander for the mission. Not incompetent, not failing, wrong. His caution, appropriate for sustained combat, became liability for exploitation combat. Patton replaced him 48 hours before the mission because waiting longer meant fighting breakout with commander whose instincts contradicted mission requirements. The principle applies universally. Past success doesn't guarantee future selection if mission requirements change. Organizations that prioritize loyalty or stability over mission matching deploy wrong talent to critical operations. Von Schweppenberg's assessment captured the competitive insight. Patton understood that breakthrough operations required different command qualities than sustained operations. His willingness to replace successful commanders demonstrated commitment to mission requirements over personal relationships or conventional success metrics. This gave American forces advantage we couldn't counter. Their command selection was ruthlessly matched to operational requirements. Wood's relief wasn't failure. It was mission matching. The commander perfect for sustained advance was wrong for breakthrough exploitation. Patton had 48 hours to fix the mismatch. He did. The breakout succeeded because the right commander, not the best commander, the right commander, led the critical mission. Success beats excellence when success requires different qualities than excellence demonstrates.